Thank you. All right, great to be back. I promise no demos, no code, just a little bit of kind of executive level talk about how to manage these projects, right? And so I'll be pretty brief. I would love to leave as much as time for you to hear from our customer panelists that is coming after. So what I'll talk about is kind of how to think about accuracy and relevancy in the age of agents, right? So as you've seen, kind of agents really kind of can automate business processes, right? They can come into a place to resolve tasks, and they can leverage tools to be able to complete those tasks, right? And they tend to be really, really good because they can leverage things like refinement, debate, and planning into the overall solution. So when I think about why agents are kind of so much more powerful than simply prompt engineering, it is about that refinement, that we can add tools that can kind of think about different aspects of the problem, and particularly the tools that can plan, right? And this is coming as a really common feature in the agents built today. Now that we want to think about, as an executive, like how do I think about the performance of this system, right? And so oftentimes I find myself working with teams, and they tell me it was easy to get 70% accuracy, and if only we could get to 85, we could put it to production, right? Or we got to 85, but we need 95. And I often start asking, like, but what is accuracy? What is relevance? And what does that really mean? Right? Like if you think about if there is an exploit, I can make agent do something wrong. If that's happening, right, I can repeat it many, many times, and I can have an unlimited impact on the business if that's the case. Right? So kind of how do we think about what is the correct behavior and what is the right metric to evaluate how this system is actually performing? Right? We understand that there are better, more intelligent, more relevant, more accurate responses or actions, and those that are less so. But like, how do we compare the two? What's the right metric? And is relevancy or accuracy a correct one? So I would think that the answer is no, that relevancy and accuracy isn't the right metric. Let's take a look at a couple of examples. So let's say that we have some kind of e-commerce, booking, purchasing type of agent, and that agent is, able to answer questions about the products being sold, right? And so, you can come and ask the question like, does this product have feature X? And maybe the legitimate answer is no. But maybe that's still not the correct answer. Maybe that's not a desirable answer, even though it's a correct answer. Maybe the correct answer should be no, but it has these three other things that somehow, replace that, downside that you asked about. And so maybe that's a better answer that results in a, purchase or booking or something like that. Right? So it's an example of, I didn't really answer your question. I said no, but I gave enough other context to achieve a common goal, which is, solve a problem or make a purchase or something else. All right, next example. I think this one is also from an e-commerce case, right? Like you can search for a product, and clearly I can offer multiple products, and maybe margins are better on some than they are on others, right? And so if you search for one thing, what should be the response, right? So the question comes down to, do I answer exactly what you asked me, or I try to provide enough context to find something that is more mutually beneficial that you maybe didn't even know about? Right? The next example is about efficiency. Right? Like, so for example, let's say that the user asks a question. Right? And so the question comes here to what is the goal of a customer support interaction? Is it reducing the burden on the user, or it's accelerating time to resolution? So if I'm trying to help you, I can spend more time helping you, which again costs the company more, or I can be done with you quickly by telling you to do 3 other things. How do we think about what's the correct behavior of the agent? Right? So clearly, as designers and builders of these systems, there are lots of trade-offs, like lots of trade-offs. And many people are focused on accuracy or relevancy. But in these examples, right, like I think we clearly demonstrated that there are many good answers, many things to trade off, right? And so when you train, your human workforce, right, or human agents, right, you tell them, right, like, figure it out and maybe treat people in particular way, and we as a brand try to do this and that, right? That is that kind of trade-off between how quickly I'm able to resolve an IT problem versus what kind of level of service do we provide. And so, kind of in conclusion, I think that agents are on the verge of being able to assist with balancing business goals, right? And I think if I were to, make a prediction, like predictions are really hard, particularly in this space, as you heard in a previous presentation. But if I were to think about, my prediction for next year, is that this time next year we'll be talking about not just accuracy and relevancy, but how can we teach agents to properly balance between goals, business goals, right? Doing a good service or being done quickly or cost or something, right? And to be able to do that intelligently and exactly as they've been trained, right? And I think that this is the thing that is going to make a big difference next year. And particularly if people here in this room are interested in kind of business effects of this type of technology on the business and trade-offs between different and potentially opposing business goals and how to work on that, I'd love to talk about this topic. With that, thank you so much, and back to our host, Warren.